After Japan began an emergency naval expansion bill, multiple Japanese ships would begin construction, one of them being the Kongo-class battlecruisers. The class was designed by a British naval architect George Thurston. The design would be later used by the British on HMS Tiger. A contract was signed with Vickers in 1910. One ship of the Kongo class, the Kongo, would be built in Britain, while the rest would be constructed in Japan. Original designs featured 8 to 10 12-inch 50 caliber guns, 16 6-inch guns, and 8 21-inch torpedo tubes. The main armament was quickly changed to 8 14-inch guns and 4 twin turrets. The Kongo class featured 4 ships. Names were Kongo, Hiei, Haruna, and Kurishima. As they were designed to be battlecruisers, armor thickness was reduced in order to save weight and achieve a higher speed while carrying battleship-grade guns. Kongo was laid down in January 1911 at the Vickers Shipbuilding Company in Barrow-in-Furness. The ship was commissioned in August 1913. Hiei was laid down in November 1911 at the Yokosuka Naval Arsenal. She was commissioned in August 1914. Haruna was laid down in March 1912 at the Kawasaki shipyards and was commissioned in April 1915. Kirishima was laid down in March 1912 at the Mitsubishi shipyard and was commissioned in April 1915. Standard displacement was at just under 27,400 tons. Overall length was at 704 feet or 214.58 meters. Beam was at 92 feet or just over 28 meters and draft was at 27 feet or 8.22 meters. 64,000 shaft horsepower was achieved by 36 Yarrow boilers. 4 shafts connected to 2-geared steam turbine sets gave Kongo class speed of 27.5 knots. Armament as completed consisted of 4 twin 14-inch 45 caliber main guns, 16 single 6-inch guns and sponsons, 4 single 3-inch anti-aircraft guns, and 8 21-inch torpedo tubes. Waterline belt thickness was from 3 up to 8 inches, deck at 1 inch, gun turrets from 9 to 10 inches, and barbettes at 3 up to 10 inches. Conning tower was armored at around 9 inches. The class didn't participate in any major actions during World War I. After the war, Japan was one of the signatories of the Washington and London naval treaties. These treaties forced Japan to use Hiei as a training ship, otherwise it would have to be scrapped. Haruna had to be put in reserve after an explosion in one of its turrets. 2 major modernizations occurred during the interwar period. The first started in the late 1920s. The elevation and fire rate of the main guns was increased, fitted new engines and additional torpedo bulges. Speed dropped to 26 knots. Improvements of the armor layout were made, but the thickness of the armor wasn't increased. Another feature added was the chance to launch aircraft with a catapult placed between turrets 3 and 4. The second modernization started in the 1930s and was far more extensive. During this process, Japan withdrew from the London Naval Treaty and Hiei returned to service. Details of the modernization varied in the class. This added more armor, but the maximum thickness was still the same with the exception of the armor deck, which had an increasement in thickness. The main guns received the Type 3 anti-aircraft shell, a pair of 6-inch guns was removed, but the elevation was increased, and 3-inch guns were replaced by 8 5-inch dual-purpose guns in 4 twin mounts, and heavy machine guns were added. These would be later replaced by the 25mm anti-aircraft guns. The boilers were replaced with modern ones, and the power went up to 136,000 shaft horsepower, giving the ships the speed of over 30 knots. This allowed them to operate with aircraft carriers. The superstructure was overhauled to a pagoda mast, although the design varied among the ships. The ships were also lengthened by 26 feet. They were redesignated as fast battleships. In the early part of World War II, the Kongo class escorted invasion convoys and carrier groups. 2 of them were with Kido Butai attacking various positions across the Pacific and Indian Oceans. After the loss at Midway and the landings at Guadalcanal, the Kongo class was used as shore bombardment units. In the first naval battle of Guadalcanal, Kirishima and Hiei with the support of destroyers attacked American ships, but Hiei received multiple hits from 5-inch guns up to heavy cruiser-size 8-inch guns. The USS San Francisco disabled Hiei's steering machinery. The Hiei had its rudder stuck to starboard and was limited to a speed of 5 knots. Kirishima tried to tow her to safety but was unsuccessful. Hiei would be attacked by B-17s, Dauntless dive bombers and Avenger torpedo bombers. A pair of torpedoes hit Hiei, followed by multiple bombs from dive bombers. Escorting destroyers picked up most of her crew, and the ship sank in the evening of November 13th with the loss of 188 of its crew. In the night of November 14th, the Second Naval Battle of Guadalcanal began. Kirishima, cruisers and destroyers fought against 4 American destroyers and 2 battleships, the South Dakota and Washington. South Dakota received multiple hits on Kirishima, but the Japanese ship was hit by multiple shells from American battleships. Following the battle, Kirishima capsized and sank at 3:25 on the evening of November 15, 1942, with 212 crewmen lost. Both wrecks were found and both showed serious damage at the bow, indicating an explosion of the forward magazines. Kongo and Haruna didn't engage enemy ships during 1943. Both ships participated in the evacuation of Japanese Army ground forces named Operation K. The two ships were part of a diversionary force covering destroyers picking up troops. In mid-February, 3rd Battleship Division departed Truk and arrived at Kirei Naval Base. Both were enjoyed out receiving modifications and additional 25mm anti-aircraft guns. In mid-May, Haruna, Kongo, Musashi, 2 fleet carriers, 2 cruisers and 9 destroyers dispatched after receiving reports of the invasion of Attu Island as a response force. On the 20th, the fleet was spotted by the submarine USS Sawfish, but the vessel couldn't attack. The Japanese fleet was sent to Yokosuka before heading towards Attu Island, and they would be joined by an additional 3 fleet carriers and 2 light cruisers, but Attu fell before the fleet arrived there. After American carrier air raids, both Congos sorted the area with escorts to find and attack American ships, but they were unsuccessful. As 1944 began, additional anti-aircraft guns would be fitted on the 2 battleships. The 3rd Battleship Division departed Truk in March. They would conduct training exercises until May. On May 11th, the battleships of the Ozawa's mobile fleet departed from Linga bound to Tawi-Tawi, where they would join Korida's Force C. On June 13th, the force would sail to the Mariana Islands. During the Battle of the Philippine Sea, the ships would be as carrier escorts, and on the June 20th attack, Haruna would be hit by 2 bombs and Kongo survived undamaged. All ships sailed for repairs and refits. The 2 Kongos would take part in the Battle of Leyte Gulf, where they would sail with Yamato, Musashi, and Nagato with multiple cruisers and destroyers as Kurita's center force. In the Battle of Sibuyan Sea, the fleet would be attacked by carrier aircraft and Haruna received live damage from near misses. The Musashi sank after overwhelming air attacks, receiving around 36 bombs and torpedoes. On the next day, the remaining Japanese ships fought Tefi-3 in the Battle of Samar, where Kongo sank the destroyer escort Samuel B. Roberts and damaged the escort carrier Gambier Bay, as well as the destroyers Heerman and Howell. Haruna only managed to force the American ships to do evasive maneuvers. The center force would retreat after the battle. While retreating, Kongo received damage from 5 near misses. Kongo and the other Japanese ships would sail into Formosa Strait on November 20th, and on the next day they were spotted by the submarine USS Sea Lion. The submarine fired a full salvo of torpedoes. One of them sank the destroyer Urakaze and 2 hit the Kongo. The torpedoes flooded 2 Kongo's boiler rooms on the port side, but the ship could still sail at 16 knots. Time passed and she got a bigger list and slowed down. At 5:18, the ship lost all power and had a list of 45 degrees. The order to abandon ship was given, and 6 minutes later, the forward 14-inch main gun magazine exploded, and the ship sank quickly, taking over 1,200 crew down with her. Haruna was assigned to Kure in 1945, and in mid-March, the Japanese ships would be attacked by American aircraft. In July, the ship would be hit by multiple bombs and sank in port by American aircraft from Task Force 38. Her remnants were raised from the seafloor in 1946 and broken up over the course of 2 months.